welcome everybody. Wow, got a crew here for our September meet. Today, I don't know that we have any business to take care of, so we're not gonna worry about that.
Can I make a quick announcement? I've got pears back there, and anybody who knows about what's been happening here in the valley this year knows the pears are going absolutely crazy. Please take some. These are Asian pears. They have a texture like apples, but they absolutely taste absolutely sweet pear, no question.
Okay, Lee, if you or Gary wants pears, I'm afraid you're gonna have to come to Wilsonville to get some. Becker's got Asian pears here to give away.
And thanks for there.
Water.
Yeah, water is available in the back as well as energy snacks to stay awake during my clinic. And our first clinic is going to be Greg Baker.
You should go first. No.
I have no idea how long mine's going to actually take.
All right.
Since I finished at about 9 o'clock this morning. So Greg, take her away on scenery.
Well, I've got a little bit of a PowerPoint too, so if you want to pop that in.
Okay, this,
See if
I'm
that'll
trying to
play.
figure out how I want to do that.
So I was gonna do the PowerPoint real quick and then I'll do the demo version or demo side of it, so. Always bring random pieces of paper so you don't make other people stuff. All right.
We're modeling trees, are we?
I think we're modeling trees, yeah.
Yes.
Sorry, Jeff, you got a question back there.
So, I know it's being broadcast on Zoom, are you recording this?
Yes, it is being recorded. It will go up on YouTube on the second division channel. As soon as I get it into a state where it's suitable for putting on the second division channel.
Oh.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Helps if we put the receiver in the computer. For those of you who are on the Zoom presentation, we'll put the PowerPoint up as well.
All right, see if I can multitask here. Probably not. So I'll just have Jeff push through the slides here real quick. So I'm gonna talk a little bit about my tree modeling, and then we'll follow up with a demo, and then I have a little bit more pointed questions at the end. So we'll go to the next one there. So talk a little bit about my philosophy. Next. Talk a little bit about where to start, some ideas on some tools and resources of modeling trees. Next. How and what I make my trees out of. Next. And then we'll do the demo. Next. Question and answer, and then let you do something else. So most people, when I say a fir tree, that's what they think of, right?
Christmas tree.
Perfectly balanced, a nice shade of green, brown trunk, et cetera, et cetera. All right, next.
You mean that's not?
I know, look, so most trees look a little different. All right, next. So one thing that people get wrong, I think a lot on their modeling of trees is the spacing of the branches. They try to make them perfectly even. When you get out there and look at trees, over time, as the tree matures, branches will break. Some don't come in all the way, things like that. So you're gonna have things that are not 100% even. Next. So yeah, a tree, when you look at it, the right side and left side might not be even, but if you look top down, a tree will be balanced. So you don't want, for most, I'm talking Douglas firs here. So most trees, you'll have a nice kind of basic shape. Now, when you look at it straight on or from one photographed angle, there might be a little bit of a lean to the left or lean to the right. So that's something to consider when you're modeling. Next. And then colors can vary. They're not always green all the time, right? So depending on the season, is not going to be as dramatic of a change as say an oak tree, but depending on when you're modeling, you need to go out and take photos of the trees that you want to model and then model to those colors. The other thing that you need to consider is like your layout lighting, and then where you're going to put them on the layout, how you're going to blend it with your backdrop, things like that. So these are all little considerations that just because you made a really nice model of a tree, when you put it on the layout, might not look as good because you didn't consider some of the other stuff. And then the trunk colors. So you can kind of guess at what that is, but Douglas fir ranges from almost a dark gray all the way up through kind of a light ashy brown color. So it kind of depends on climate, how exposed they are, things like that. So again, working with photograph. You can go next. So talk a little bit about scale compression. So most of the time, you're probably gonna have to scale down the model. Next. So I don't know if you can see that up there, but the height, the tallest Doug fir will get is around 250 feet. Go to the next right here. So in HO scale, that's 34 inches tall. In inch scale, that's 18, and in O scale, would be 62.5 inches tall.
5 foot model.
So,
But it's accurate.
so yeah, I don't know. I do not have a layout room big enough to manage a 34-inch HO scale tree, let alone a 62-inch O scale tree. So when you're modeling, a lot of times I'll build a few trees and then scale them up against some freight cars or a train and kind of see how it looks. You can't make them too big. You can't make them too small. They'll find their place on the layout. But notice that unless you've got, like the Chicago Museum where it's got that entire concourse area, scaling trees is going to be part of what you're going to have to do. So when I started out, one of the things that I do is try to find one of these silhouettes to kind of give me an idea of branch spacing and how the branches are going to line up, things like that. So I'll drill my holes kind of based on those. I've built enough now that I kind of skip using these, but these are a great resource and tool. So you can see, especially like on this one, how the top is more, you can go to next. Right there. Next. So the top is a little bit bushier because that's the newer growth and it's the younger part of the tree. So it's going to be a little bit more compact. And then as the tree ages, the branches are going to be spread out a little bit more. You're going to have more of the branches exposed as you go down further. All right, next. So how do I build my trees? My trunks, a lot of time I'll use just like 3/16-inch dowel. I'm the one guy at the train shop or the train swap meet where the guy's got that pile of dowels that, for $1, like I will take all of those and I'll wander off of those. So thanks. Cut them to various lengths. Got this little micro mark, little chop saw thing. It's really cute. Works pretty darn good. So good to have. All right. Next. I currently use a drill press because I make a lot of trees. When I first started, I actually had like a little Tamiya hand drill, a Dremel tool with a drill bit, works fine. Drill press, I can knock out a bunch of them, save them. I was given one of these tabletop sanders, really useful if you're going to do a lot of different things. Really fast way to shape up a tree trunk. I recommend wearing gloves though, so I guess it'll take your skin off. All right, next. And then use the X-Acto saw blades to add a little texture to the dowel, and I'll show you a little bit of that here in a bit. All right. My branches for the models that I'm going to show you today, using 16-gauge florist wire. You can buy it at Michael's, Hobby Lobby, Amazon will deliver it to you same day if you live in certain areas. So if you really want to go home and build a tree, have all the stuff there tomorrow. Next. I use CA glue. I just really like the Bob Smith stuff. You can use whatever works for you. Next. I use an old set of rail nippers. So when you've cut a few things and they've started to get little nicks and dings in them, I've retired my rail nippers to this service. I've got my good set for cutting a rail now. And then hairspray, should have bolded it and highlighted and underlined it, but unscented. Unless you like, all of your railroad to smell like flowers.
Does it come with it? Mine?
Yeah.
Pine scent.
That's why I'm gonna write in suave and be like, you need a manly smell, you need a pine smell. The main thing you're looking for is max hold or extreme hold or some number above 7. So it's essentially spray glue. That's all it is. But they sell it as hairspray. All right. And then I use a set of the hemostats to hold the tree, and I'll show you that here in a bit. Gloves, unless you like getting covered in green stuff and having to wash your hands all the time. Camouflage spray paint. Tell you a little bit about how I use that in a bit. And then the static grasses I use, since Woodland Scenics has gone to these small bags, it's usually fairly the same price, and I don't have to wait for Walther. I don't have to wait to build up a Walther's order or wait for stuff to come from Germany. So I'll use a 12 millimeter, 7 millimeter, and then I've got these 2 millimeter canisters, 32 ounce canisters that I use for the pine needles and whatnot. All right. And then for topping, I use fine turf, Woodland Scenics fine turf, and then mix of the weeds and green grass. So that's all out here. One of the other things I have is a wet palette. If you don't have a wet palette, I highly recommend it if you're gonna do anything like figure painting, structure painting, anything where you're gonna be using high quality pigment paint. It saves the paint for you. So when you squirt it out onto the wet palette, you can go back a couple days later and the paint's still usable versus losing the paint. For this set, I switched to using Vallejo paints. I used to use a lot of the craft paint, the 99-cent paint, but you get what you pay for. So the cheaper paint, what you're saving, and why it's so expensive for this is the pigment will fade in those cheap paints, like the 99-cent apple barrel paint. Might be a year, might be 3 years, but you're going to start having the color shift. Sometimes it doesn't matter, but sometimes it's going to dramatically affect what you've modeled, and you don't want to look at your layout and go, oh wow, I didn't remember painting that building pink.
I wonder how much that depends on what sort of lighting you have in your layout.
Well, and that too, but like I've seen somebody paint a building like a barn red, and in 2 years it was a very nice pink building.
Weather.
Chalk.
So and they're like, I did not paint it that way, and it the pigment isn't great. All right, next. And then a pair of scissors. I'll do a little trim work and clean up on a lot of my trees. So, all right. So show you a little bit of my method of madness here. Throwing stuff at you. All right. It's like a cooking show.
Warn me if the screen here changes too dramatically, please.
You want to get his top of his head, right?
Yes.
So there you go.
Need a set of ovens behind me. All right, so
This is why
start out with regular piece of dowel. This has just been cut to length, nothing very special about it. Next thing I do is put it in my drill press, and I've drilled holes in the bottom and the top, and then up the length of the trunk. And then off to the sander it goes to give it a little bit of shape. And I put the mounting pin in the bottom. That just reminds me which end is the bottom when I start building this thing. So there's that. So I'll pass those around. Really fancy stuff to look at. So once I have that dowel shaped, what I start to do then is just feed through different lengths of that 16 gauge forest wire. So not a lot of science to it, you know, bigger at the bottom, narrower at the top. You're doing it right. So, and usually what I'll do is I'll size the previous branch. So I'll hold it up, kind of eyeball it, make a mark, and I'll cut out a few of the same, because I'm usually going to build one or more trees at the same time. So I've got 2 here, and that'll give me one on each kind of axis of the tree. So when I drill my holes, if you look at that dowel, notice they're not just all up one side. And then I try to vary them, so they'll be, you know, kind of on the same side, kind of off center, whatnot. So set in my couple of branches here. Get out my CA.
So you drill the holes all the way through?
Yeah, all the way through. That way I can slide the branches through. Usually I'm sitting down, so this is a fun exercise and how to stand and model. And then pretty liberal amount of CA on either side. That way, when you go to bend and flex them later to shape them, you're not popping them out and making them loose. If I'm in a real hurry, I'll do a bunch and then I'll use the CA accelerator and spray them. That way I can move on to the next step. You're building 1 or 2, you don't need to, unless you really want to go really fast. But yeah, so I'll just keep adding branches until I get to the top. Really exciting part of the show.
Did you consider drilling the holes small enough so that the wires would just push firmly in there?
I've done that, and then I've put the wires through my fingers.
Oh.
So, because you're trying to get it in there, and then you're whoo.
Yeah.
So I'm like, a little bit bigger is fine. I've also noticed that florist wire is not measured to any type of engineering standard. So it's a wire that is coated, and sometimes you'll buy on Amazon and it'll say it's 16 gauge, and you'll drill a hole that's 16 gauge hole, and those do not fit. so anyway, so I'll just continue to work up to the top, put a little piece on top here, pass this. It's a little sharp, so
Yes.
don't hit your friends with it. So once that's all set up, what I do, and I didn't bring spray paint because I figured y'all didn't want to pass out from the fumes, is I will use my fancy dancy hemostats here. And what I'll do is, instead of spraying it with glue, I'll use that camo brown spray paint. And I'll just give the entire tree a nice coating of brown paint. And then I apply the, this is all 12 millimeter static grass. So usually I'll start with the tree upside down, and that allows it to stick and kind of fall up, which seems a little weird. But when you flip it over and add on to it, instead of having, because if you looked online, there's those guys who model like the European style fir trees, and they're like these nice perfect lines of, and we don't have, I mean, unless somebody brought it here and planted it in their front yard, it's not kind of how our trees look. So they're more bushy. So once I've done that, I'll give it a couple of sprays. This one has 3 coats. So I'll spray it brown, sprinkle some of the 12 millimeter on it, look at it, spray it brown again, 12 millimeter again. So what you're trying to do is build it up enough, and this is where it gets tricky. Build it up enough that you have something for the other material to attach to, but not so much that you end up with just a giant puffball. So this is probably one of those critical steps where you'll have some that look like crap, and the nicest thing about them is if they look like crap, you can just pull the stuff off. Start over again. And I've done it. I built trees 2 years ago and I was looking at it the other day and I just started pulling off the stuff because I've gotten better at it. Your trees, unless you're way better than I am, your trees will probably not look as nice as mine the first 10, 15, 20 attempts because they take a little time, they take a little practice. Don't get discouraged. Like I said, you can build one armature, take the stuff off, do it again, take the stuff off until you get one that you're happy with. So what's interesting about just using the paint is it's sturdy enough that it'll hold the material and not lose any of the texture. So this one, I wanted to have the lower branches have a few more extra kind of branches and whatnot on it. So what I've done is I've gone ahead and added some 7mm to this. And the 7mm allows me to build out some of the material a little bit more and create these wider spots. So this one, what I've done is I sprayed it with my hairspray, my Max Hold hairspray for long lasting hold, unscented, and carefully just around the edges dropped my material to build out that color and that style. So this would then go back into the shop and I'd spray it brown again to establish those branches underneath. There's not sprayed you here. So now that I have a tree that I'm fairly happy with, I've got enough branches built up, everything's looking good. What I'm going to do now is add, I just call them add the needles, pine needles. So that is 2 products. First is static grass flock, burnt grass. One thing about scenery colors is don't believe them. Like, buy all the colors, like it doesn't matter. You're gonna find something for it somewhere out in nature. People get really confused, like, oh, I can't buy that. I'm not modeling burnt grass. Well, it's dead grass, it's new growth, or it's the dead growth, it's, somebody sprayed weed killer in the ditch. I mean, it's all these different colors that you can use. So I try to save as much of this material as possible. So that's why I've got this little tub here. I'm just gonna pour into the cap. Try to spray this on my paper instead of something I actually care about. So for this is going to be the underside. Glue. All right. So I used to, and people are like, why don't you just shake it on there? Because it comes out in clumps. So I just take little pinches of the material. This is the main secret right here. This is it. Not much to it, but so just kind of I rub my, like somebody owes you money. So, and it's no specific amount. Sometimes I'll go really heavy on this, sometimes I'll go really light. It's just whatever I'm feeling. All right. Try to get this back in there. And then for the top, we're going with the medium green. There's a dark green, there's a medium green. Doesn't really matter for my purposes, because I cover them with another material, but it's just something that's green to tell me which side is which. Why is my hand getting all cold? Oh yeah, I'm not even using my own tools. There you go. See, now I'm not gonna get my fingers all covered in stuff. So usually what I go for on this layer is I'm going for the droplets. I can see that, but I'm trying to get the little droplets of glue that just gives me a little bit more to stick to. So. Snowing. Again, this is inexact science. This is looking at it and going, oh, that one's a little too much, or that one's too clumped up, or not clumped up enough, or that one's completely bare.
No two are the same.
No two are the same. You make two trees look exactly the same. You've got something going that I don't have, so. So I'm just trying to, my main thing is I'm just trying to get it so that the brown underneath is covered. So it just makes it easier to put the next layer on, which is kind of the top coat. So all the extra out there. And if I don't put it away and put the lid on, I will knock it over, and then there'll be a big mess, and we'll get our deposit back. All right, next two pieces, again, gonna flip it over, spray it. And I'm gonna put on, gonna put on the fine turf, and I'm using earth fine turf. Easy enough for me to say. And again, this is just to give it that last little bit of texture. It comes out really nice in photographs. It gives you those almost just kind of little pine needles at the end of each of these branches. And this is the dead stuff on the underside of the branches.
So you sound like a commercial for the gutter guard.
Needles, needles, needles. All right. So the other thing, and we were talking about color earlier, I mix a lot of mine. And then when it ends up in this tub, that's becomes its own color. But so this one is green grass and weeds mixed 50-50. For me, that looks like Douglas fir in midsummer, you know, kind of the typical look that we're looking for.
That all, of course, is fine.
That's all fine.
Fine.
The coarse stuff has purpose, but for my purposes, I'm using all the fine stuff. And again, inexact science of scribbling the stuff all over it. So once this is done, I usually wait about 24 hours, let all the glue set and all the paint set, because usually this is a wet process. So the spray paint, the spray paint's still wet on the thing when I'm building these, but I don't think I could manage bringing wet spray paint in here, so we're skipping that step. But it'll give you the feel and the look that you're going for, and it'll all dry about the same time. Something like that. All right, perfect. So that's going to go in there. So through the magic of television, we're going to go to a finished tree here. So when the tree's dry, you can get in and manipulate the branches. So I'll actually go through and physically move the branches. And I can actually get in here and pull out some of the stuff I don't want. So, and this is where spending too much time staring at trees helps. Again, it's not an exact science, it's just kind of
I was
cleaning it
wondering
up.
about what's the predominant direction of the lens, up or down?
Yes.
Doug Fur's bow.
Yeah, so depends on what tree you're modeling and where the thing's growing and all that stuff. So for a Doug fir, what you're gonna see, and if you look at that slide, you'll see that they'll have this kind of bow in them. And then the tips kind of come up, so I'll kind of pull the material up. And then I'll get that piece there, and that looks like crap, take that out of there. So it's kind of a exact experiment here on what you're trying to do. But that's sturdy enough that I'm not being super gentle on this. And then if there's something that's really bothering me, like up around the top here, where it's just got all clumped together, I'll just get in there with scissors. Trees are a lot of air, and I think that's where people get confused. I think there's a lot of the modeling effort. They end up, I know the furnace filter method's popular because it's easy. You can rack out a bunch of trees, but they're very thick. They're good for, putting up against backdrops if you're doing a massive forest, but you want something that's got a little bit more detail. This will give you a little bit more detail for that kind of mid-ground or even foreground if you want to spend a little bit more time on it. And if I'm feeling really irritated about something, I'll just go in here with the nippers and be like, man, I don't like that branch. So I'll just cut that one. I cut this one too. So nothing is sacred, nothing is safe. Yeah, so that gives you the basic look at the tree. We're not done yet. There's more. All right. So in order to what I consider finishing the tree, I think you grab me a bottle of water, please. Yeah. Well, my lovely assistant here. All right, so this is my don't drink that. This is my wet palette here. I've already put some paint on it. Bounced around in the car a little bit, but I've got my white, my brown, and my black. So for this tree, we're gonna mix a little bit of the brown, a little bit of the black, a little bit of the white. I don't know. There's a color. That'll work. Again, this is where having a photo helps a lot. And then a brush you do not care about. I don't know if you can see that, but that thing is gnarly. So what I'm doing here is I'm purposely going in. Try not to do this over my paint because I don't want it in my paint. What I'm trying to do is as I paint, I'm also brushing off any of the loose static grass as I go down the trunk here. And that's just going to give it that look of branches, not static grass. So. And I don't know if you can tell, but I'm using a very wet paint mixture. So at least 50-50 with water. You're trying to use the paint and the water mix to knock off both the glue and paint at the same time. So. And yeah, go ahead.
Are you going for any particular color on this, or is it just a?
For this one, I'm going for a dark grayish color. Again, this is where having photos, if you're going after a specific species of trees or a specific look that you're going for, is helpful. So you can kind of match what you're doing. And then sometimes I'll let it sit because you're like, well, that'll look good. And then you'll come back in an hour and you're like, yeah, it's a little dark. So you're like, well, I'll add a little bit of white into it, maybe a little bit more brown because I want to go with, for whatever reason, I want this one to be lighter. And this is the, is your layout a dungeon? Or are you, building this for a traveling exhibition? Or what is the purpose? What is the lighting gonna be where you're at? So sometimes what you paint it and what it looks like after it dries or after you plant it in your layout area might change, so. All right, so that's good enough. We'll let that dry. Set that aside. So. All right. So with that said. We won't let there. Leave that there. What you can do is, this is kind of the first, these are my more, what I call mid-ground background trees. If you want to go more in detail, you can change the type of wire that you use. I do, so like these trees are a little bit different. I won't bore you with all those details, but if you have questions on that. But it gives you a pretty nice tree. Looks better than, dipping a stick in like just the furnace filter or whatever. The perfectly round circles stacked up on top of each other. So I think it gives you that look of a nice Pacific Northwest tree. Anyways, questions?
You try to use any older branches where they're bare and unfinished?
Yeah.
Have you tried that?
I've done that on a few. Yeah. I have kind of.
Do you do it with the wire or do you just get wood or branches with metal?
So I just do it with wire. So I'll use 22 gauge wire.
Yeah.
And I'll fold it back and forth. So bend it back and forth, and I'll slide it to that hole, and then I'll cut the loops and then kind of twist my own dead branches. Yeah. I think one of these up here has a little bit of that at the bottom.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you tried adapting this process for deciduous trees, maybe using Scenic Express?
I have.
pieces?
I didn't bring any of that stuff today. I had some that are sitting at my house that I have done a very similar technique to. So I have a dowel on the bottom, and then I have wire coming out of the top that's wire wrapped. I've also been experimenting with coconut fiber to give. See, this is why you go pay attention to military modelers and guys in Europe, because they teach you these really cool tricks. So they use coconut fiber, and it gives you a much better tree structure or branch structure. And then I'm using, recently, Walthers is now importing, they're either knock or faller leaves under their own brand of Scene Master. So for a while I was like, where did all these leaves go? I can't find them anywhere. And then Walthers is like, new product. So that's, one frustrating thing about scenery materials is there's things that are only available for a while, and they end up, somebody else rebrands it and comes out with it, or changes the color completely and tells you, oh, this is medium green now, and it looks nothing like the medium green you had a year ago. Yeah.
When you're making these at home, I assume you set up like assembly line style and try making like 20 or 50 at one time. So how fast can you make these?
These ones, I can do a tree in about 15-20 minutes now.
If you're doing one at a time.
Yeah, well, yeah, so I'll sit there and I will drill, well, I'll cut out like 50, and then I'll go drill 20 of them. And then, so I have a 2 foot by 2 foot board with holes drilled in it.
Right.
So it's like when that's getting sparse, I'll be like, how many holes do I have? I'm like, okay, that's how many I will set up and build.
I was just curious, like if you sat down for an afternoon, just churning these things out,
Yeah,
how many could you really make, say in 3 hours or 4 hours?
yeah, quite a few. I have started watching F1, and it's football season, and this is a great activity to sit there and have the television on and do a modeling thing. So I've got a bunch of these little tubs, and I'll just have it full of dowels, and they're already prepped, ready to go, sanded down, and I'll sit there with wire and just cut wire and stick it in there. And then sometimes I won't even glue them, I'll just kind of prep them and then take them out of the house to use all the CA. Go to the shop and I'll glue them all up. Yeah,
Did you ever think about using the tapered wooden chopsticks?
so I hate bamboo, not specifically for this, but for modeling purposes, they splinter. One thing I did use for a while and they are finally back available is corn dog sticks. So you have to get the wood ones, so get on Amazon and you look up corn dog sticks and they're all, I want to say 9 inches tall and they're tapered. And they're they're kind of like ran through a pencil sharpener, so I think only the top inch is tapered. But that gives you a guide for when you're sanding that you've got something that's already pointy, and then you can kind of sand along that side. And they come in a bag, I don't know, bag of 200 for $6 or something crazy like. I mean, it's pretty cheap. Saves you from sitting there chopping them.
So when we were all locked down and a couple of us were out at the Casadero building this diorama, which is 5 by 20. The owner's parents built the trees for us from kits. So we just did the perimeter up one side and down the other. We didn't do the whole thing in trees. The last thing I heard that the parents spent over $2,500 on these kits. Yeah, and that's just to do the perimeter of this diorama. So, guys, pay attention here.
I think on a, if you pay total, like you pay absolute retail and didn't get a discount, didn't buy any quantity, I think you're looking at $2, maybe a tree, maybe less.
Can you charge how much for?
You're paying for my time and my artistry.
Had to dig though.
These balsa, half-inch balsa, and I actually take a wood rest and just roll it around, and rest it down. Trouble is, when you get to the tip, you gotta be really careful because they'll break off.
Yeah,
Especially when you're drilling over.
yeah,
Punch in leaves.
the balsa is really good, I found, for doing like an old growth tree where you really wanna put in a bunch of character into, into the bark and all that. I find the same problem that you have. They're just the durability of them. And then a year from now, when somebody reaches over your layout and bumps them, what's gonna happen to the balsa.
The
So
wood rest, when you do a wood rest, it really gives a character to the trunk.
Yeah.
And then, but the balsa also takes stain, so I do a brown or stain, then gray or black stain over it.
any other questions? All right. Got a few completed, finish up this little diorama here with some of my other trees, so feel free to come on up, look around, and then we're gonna do a little break.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to reconfigure.
Yep. And I gotta clean up.
Go for it. I don't remember Bible being put on this.
Okay, we're gonna take a break here while I reconfigure and figure out how I'm setting this up for my claim. Okay, for the second half of our meeting here today. Go. That's military command voice.
Yeah.
I never quite learned that.
Yeah.
We had a whole course on that.
All right, so for our second part of the meeting today, you're going to watch me manipulate computers, basically. You're gonna watch the back of my head in the screen. Sorry, but that's how it's going to work. The NMRA over the past year and a half has made some changes. NMRA magazine, if you do not wish to get it in paper form, you do not have to, because you will whether or not you want it or actually not, get it in digital form. It is now an included benefit. However, this means that you've got to be able to log in and actually get access the magazine. And there go ways to do this both on your computer and on a phone or tablet. If you have a nice 9-inch iPad or so, excellent reading platform for this stuff. If you're looking at online magazines and going, but the type is so tiny. I agree with you. You get that beat too, and I'll show you how. The second part is going to be what's called NMRA interchange. And has anybody ever heard the word Discord before as applied to a computer? Hi, Greg. He's on it. I think he's one of 3 members of the division that's on it. That I've seen check in. If Discord was originally designed basically for gamers. And as such, it was designed for them to yell at, coordinate, troll each other, what have you, while they're playing games with each other on these massive multiplayer games where people all around the world jump in and hack and slash at each other on a single computer. So trying to explain it is not worth the effort, quite honestly. I can show you, and we'll see what it is. Basically, unlike normal forums that you might be on online, where you've got all separate threads, on Discord, all threads fit under whatever topic they're put in. So it's very stream of consciousness. With that, let's head on in and go for the magazine. Okay, so to get to the magazine, the first thing is you have to go to the NMRA homepage. If you have never set up a login on the NMRA homepage, you need to. It's just that simple. Without being logged in or being able to log into the NMRA website, nothing else is possible because all of this is going to be based off of that database. Feel free to interject questions at any point. And I do know that I have the ability to glaze eyes within 10 seconds. If that's happening, stop me and ask. So, first thing is, once you get logged in, you've got the membership login screen. This is not the actual NMRA homepage here. This is the page you get up after you log in. So it's got a second, a second level of menus right down here, which are the stuff that are only available to members when being logged in. And as you can see right here at the top is the NMRA digital magazine. So you click on that and you get to the digital magazine's homepage, which gives you multiple options for getting to the magazine itself. If you're on a computer like this one, a laptop, big computer, anything that's not an Apple or Android type device, use the link here. There I am. It's just nmra.zenioapps.com. And it will lead you to this page, which is the digital magazine homepage. You are not yet logged in. That is up here. Okay, the question, you've logged into the NMRA website. Now you have to log into Zenio.
The same password.
Not necessarily. The first time you go in, it asks you to put in your email address and password and confirm password. You're setting up a new account. What it's looking for is an email address that matches the one that's in the NMRA's system. That email address must be the same. So if you signed up and gave the NMRA an address that you haven't been using for the last 3 email addresses, you still need to give this system that same address and hope you still have access to that email address. Otherwise, please contact us so we can tell the higher ups at NMRA General Headquarters that this person has a new address and we need to update that system. And we'll figure that out from there. All right, so once logged in, just need to click on whichever magazine you plan on reading. And click on Read Now. Now, that's not your only option though. You can't see it, but down below here, because these are all screenshots, you can also just access the magazine article by article, if you want to go in that way. But if you just clicked on the Read Now, this is what you're going to get. And to put it quite simply, I can't read that. I doubt any of you can either. I doubt even Greg can. At least not on a normal small screen. Maybe if you tossed it up on like your 50-inch TV, you could. I haven't tried that. But up in the corner here, there are some little icons. And this is what they need. First, you actually can print the articles in the magazine if you want to print them to save them. If you're still in love with hard copy, and some people are, that's perfectly fine. Personally, I don't have the room in my house, and especially with 2 little kittens that are bound and determined to tear my house up. Table of contents pop-up. We'll see that in a next slide or so. Search, pretty self-explanatory. Text view, you're going to love this. Zoom, which if you need to make the screen size larger and zoom in, you can do it that way. And of course, full screen means let's get rid of all the extraneous stuff around your web browser and actually view the magazine itself full screen. So when you go to the table of contents pop-up, that's what you get, is the table of contents. Pops up on the side, you can scroll down, pick whichever article you want to go to. This is text view. Instead of having it look like the actual magazine itself, you get a column of very readable text. The pictures are interspersed throughout that text. Sometimes they are not totally in order, but they're generally pretty close. And this is the way I read the magazine, except I do it on my phone most of the time because, well, it makes it readable. And that icon for the text view changes to PDF up there. So you can go back to the original version. And you have that A underline will bring up the display options there where you can change colors and the font size. So basically at this point, you can customize how you want to view this magazine. So back to this, to go through it, there will always be arrows on the sides to get to the next page, basically. This, if you happen to have my Android phone, and I assume the other Androids look the same and iPhones are probably similar, is what you see when you log in using the NMRA Android app. The nice thing is it remembers who you are, so you generally don't have to log in. you're just there. And you click on the magazine you want. And it brings it up. Again, PDF view. On a phone, this is completely unreadable. However, on a phone, this is very readable.
What is that? It's just text.
Text view. If you look down here, it's this icon here.
It's unreadable.
Hmm?
The icon is unreadable, but.
Well, yeah, pretty much.
Text on it's got
It does say text, and when you go to text view, it'll say PDF. And remember, when you're reading your phone, it's probably gonna be back here, not out there.
Jeff,
Yes,
good thing about that, the observation part, that whole article is,
yeah, you scroll the thing.
then you go to the next page, you just swipe.
Swipe left, swipe right, page forward, page back. Thank you. And for the magazine, those are effectively the URLs you're gonna need to be interested in. The first one is that NMRA digital magazine homepage, which you probably will never visit again, because you'll go to the NMRA Zinio apps, log in there, and bookmark that page, so you can just go straight back to it. Or the two apps. Riley Triggs sent me a whole bunch of screenshots, a couple of which are in here. And included something about a Chrome Experience app. I couldn't actually find that thing. I think it was a very short-lived experiment. But you may somewhere out there see a reference to it. I recommend ignoring it. So let's see here.
Back issues been digitized.
Yeah, they've gotten everything back to 1933 or so digitized. They are missing some from, I think it's the early mid 2000s. There's a copyright issue conflict thing going on that they're having to work through.
Scale rails.
I think it may have been the scale rails era, I'm not sure. Why Stephen Priest would argue against that, I don't know, so I doubt it's coming from him, being that his wife is the current editor.
Yeah.
So they're all available.
Yeah, almost all of them. There's a few missing years in the early 2000s, but beyond that, right? Yeah, you're gonna be able to throw out that stack of NMRA bulletins and scale rail, well, not the scale rails probably, but NMRA magazines that you've had since who knows when.
One thing on that, Jeff, though, is once you leave the NMRA, you lose access to this.
Yeah,
And so if you
so
throw
please
out,
don't leave.
there's that. No, we don't want you to leave. But you will lose. This only exists as long as you have access to your member.
Now is the moment where all those life members still existing gloat.
And renew all the time, right? We get-
And that's why I send out renewal notices to people every month.
Okay, so let's stop that share. And we're going to share. Oh, come on. Oh, there we are. Yes, I'm now screen sharing the Surrey Convention webpage. If you haven't heard yet, the Surrey Convention website is up for registering for next year's PNR convention. PNR 2024.7divpnr.ca is the URL. Please come up and ask for it if you wish to have it after this.
And don't recommend it, the crew up here in 7th Division really has their act together.
Yeah, one of the nice things, I really don't want to be showing you all my email. One of the nice things is that this crew has been running the rail model meet of British Columbia or something like that, for the last, I don't know how many years. And they will not be running this meet next year because they will be running the convention. So it will have a distinct Rail Modelers of British Columbia meat flavor to it as the convention.
And I can speak highly of those, and I've been to a few of those real modelers of British Columbia meets. And I know those guys, and they are, that is true, they really do have their stuff together.
Yeah, they are, and they're among the most gracious hosts. in the
Yes.
county.
They're excellent modelers, and just kind people, and it's just, yeah, can't say enough good about it.
And don't panic when
Interacting
you,
with them last weekend, since I was fortunate to get the NMRA.
so don't panic when you see the prices for the hotel rooms and for the registration.
Somebody
Those
said
are
it's
$8, you know, so it's really only about $2 or $3 is what it's gonna cost you a night.
Maybe not.
Okay, so it's not
Realistically, it's
20% off.
it's about $1.25 Canadian to $1 American right now.
The elevators are going to work. Yeah, yeah, they are definitely going to work. They actually have a place to eat at this hotel. They also,
They have a mall across the street.
for your wife or spouses.
I don't know if any of you went to the narrow gauge convention in Denver a couple weeks back. Apparently the elevators failed there too.
Oh, my lord.
They were down for a couple hours. All right, so this is live. Go to Zenio apps. It may be live, but it is a little slow. The October issue is now out.
Yeah, question.
Okay,
Does NMRA send an email or some kind of,
No,
when it comes out?
I get a notification on my phone. Because I've got the app loaded. And I approved the app giving me notifications, so it tells me the October issue is up. Which it did this month, and I was happy for it because I hadn't realized it was actually past the 15th yet. And they are very good about getting this thing up at like midnight Eastern or something on the 15th every single month.
They don't send us a notice that it's out.
Oh, and totally self-centered announcement, Model Railroad Hobbyist for September is also up. You just may have to go to the website and hit the forum to find the link right now. But it may have changed. I haven't looked at it for the last couple hours. Running extra, probably tomorrow. It is done. I know that. All right, so let's see. I want to do it in text view. Let's see, and I want to make the text. Well. And you can even change the color of your background if that's easier for you to read, and for some people it is. A lot of people prefer that instead of a stark white with black text. Tan with black text is easier on the eyes. MRH, which I just mentioned, actually does play with the color of the background and the text a little bit to make it easier to read.
Can you zoom in on that thing too, for the read, can't read, I see.
You mean, yeah, Control plus, Control minus works on this as well. And Cynthia's getting to talk about a couple of operating sessions that she went to during the national convention. And you got, okay, has anybody not read the magazine anytime recently? Yeah, our vice president, thanks. So there's 3 or 4 things that are pretty much always in the magazine. The observation car, which is Cynthia Priest, the editor's little 400 word or so blurb. There is the president's car, which is Gordy. Yeah, in every issue, president's car, mail car, which you can guess. Division business car. Yeah. But it's, if you want to see what's in other divisions and regions, what they're up to and what they're putting out in their newsletters, he does a good job of curating that for interesting stuff. Okay, you've got Pulse of DCC. Mark Jewett is very knowledgeable about DCC. He's on the standards group for it.
It must be.
Yeah. Although this one I'm not going to be that interested in, probably because I don't have Digitrax stationary decoders and don't plan on using them. That's okay. I'm sure there are people out there who do.
Not everything in the magazine has to be for you. That's the thing we
Exactly.
all have to remember.
Most of you guys probably know Jack Hamilton. One of these days, I would like to go north and see his workbench. Because I think it must be the size of a two-car garage to hold all of the tools he has accumulated over his lifetime and put into these.
Full scale tools or?
Yeah,
He's got two
he
boxes
does
that are
one of
mounted
these
on
tool
wheelie that
junkies.
he moves around all this different stuff.
Oh, like that.
Yeah.
And it's just fantastic what he does.
Maybe he'll do a workshop, tour at the National.
And then for those who follow the achievement program, and somehow I missed ever seeing my name up here, but I got the paperwork, so I'm happy. You happen to know Marty McGurk. He used to work for Model Railroader and work for MRH briefly. He now has his master builder scenery. But you go down all of this. Bill Yancey, I think, is definitely aiming for his MMR. Because he had at least 3 entries in this one. And they've got over 740 MMRs now. So that's the magazine. Let's go back. Hang on, I need to stop share. All right. Now I'm sharing that screen again. NMRA interchange, the Discord server. The easiest way I've found to getting to the interchange page.
Question, Jeff. Does this replace what was IOD?
No, this replaces the NMRA forums that were on this website that nobody ever looked at. Except I think I posted something up there regarding the standards gauge. And 3 months later, I believe I got a response. This is going to be a lot quicker because it's actually got somebody managing it who's interested in it. Anyway, the quickest way to get to the NMRA interchange homepage is to go to the NMRA website and wait for this ad blurb to scroll past, or click on little bubbles right beneath it. You see the dark blue one and all the little white circles. Each one of those is a different banner ad, basically. So the Discord one is currently the first one. It takes you to the interchange homepage, which if you scroll down gives you pretty much all the stuff I'm going to give you here.
Is that access from the original homepage?
you believe you have to be logged in.
Yeah, I think.
And it's one of those things where if you aren't logged in, the first thing it will do as soon as you click on it is present you with your login screen, and then it will take you to where you need to go. So that is also the URL there at the top if you want to just go to that page directly. This is a page that you should only ever have to go to once, because this is the instructions for how to actually get onto the Discord server. At which point, once you're on it, these become moot because you've already done them. All right, so the first step is to click on the link at the bottom of that page to join the Discord server. There is a special link in order to get to that particular machine. And as you can see, they say, please don't share this. It's not going to work for anybody else that's not in the NMRA and does not have an address registered with the NMRA on the website, because once again, that's the database they're working off of. So you click on the Discord GG link. Log into it. We will go through this at the end. We're going to see if we can't get Larry on here. So you will get a very abbreviated view of the Discord server with the lobby that gives you the instructions to what to do. And as Speed will later admit, nobody ever reads the instructions in the read tos. But you type on board and then your NMRA member number. So how many of us actually know what our numbers are?
I know where Ricardo's.
Yeah. Yeah, it's on there.
Oh.
However, it's a nice long number. The only parts you actually need is the first part until you get to what looks like a date, which isn't.
First 6 letters of numbers.
First 6 digits plus the space and the next 2 digits.
Oh, the 00.
The 00 in most cases, some people will have like a 0A, a 0B. These are various things like family memberships and things like that. I'm pretty sure that lifetime members have something slightly different. But that's what you need to type in. And as you can see at the bottom, it explains what you need to type. So basically, the 6 digits, space, and the 2 digits. And then type in slash, well, that's telling you what I just told you. The bot. The bot is the brain behind Discord, basically. Because the bot watches the Discord and highlights certain things that are commands in Discord. In this case, it is handling the onboarding process. So it will tell you to expect an email, and it will send you that email to your NMRA registered email address. Yes, I am going to pound that into your heads. As a person who has 5 different email addresses, I have trouble keeping them straight, so I'm pounding it into my head as well.
How long does it take to get them? The V8 takes me sometimes almost a half hour.
I think the times I've dealt with it, it's sitting in my email by the time I get there. But I would definitely be patient enough to give it 5 to 10 minutes before streaming at speed. After that, yeah, I've got streaming privileges at speed, so. And he's pretty much used to people screaming at him over this particular aspect of it. All right, so you're waiting for that email. And as Speed says, go back and read the rules and the how-to guides. And there is a line in that email you receive into that into that lobby channel that you're in the Discord app. And all of a sudden, it fills out and you can see everything. It will also even include, I believe, your home division, which is us. And as you can see at the bottom, never click leave the server, or else you will get to do this all again. As long as you do not leave the server, you will always have the server as one of your Discord servers. This is the fun part about Discord is there's a lot of different servers out there for different activities, for different games, for different whatevers. So you can actually be members with different servers all in the same app. And also there is an app for Discord. There's also, you can either get it to the web, Android, Windows, Mac, iOS. Remember, this is designed for gamers, so they wrote it for everything.
Oh, what it says. Never leave the server. If you shut your computer off.
You're not you have to actually pull it that you're leaving the server, which is probably on that screen somewhere, but I've never actually stumbled across it myself. But this is what the actual page will look like. You've got all of the topics, and believe me, there are a lot more than that on there. Hey, consider that forum topics. These are not created by you. These are, think of them as rooms created by Speed Miller, who's actually running this thing, and his elves. This happens to be the first message that's on the second division page. Because 25, if you look at your NMRA membership card, it'll show that you have a 25/02, probably, for your membership number. The PNR is the 25th region, and we are the second division, and that's where that comes from. And let's see, I pinned a message to this channel, was probably this message here. So I've got some minor admin powers, very, very minor. So yeah, you can come yelling to me if you need help on it, but likely as not, I'm going to be asking Speed if it's anything beyond, oops, I goofed my login. Anyway, so that's what that looks like there. Like I said, Mac, Windows, Linux for big computers, Apple, Android for little computers. Good way of putting that. This is what it looks like in two screens on my phone. You get this on one side, and then you can either go through the different rooms, or you can read the messages in that room. I'd say it's a little clunky, but there's no other way to do it.
So it allows you to read other people's messages,
Yeah, everybody that posts stuff.
and then you'll also see what the answers are to that.
Yes,
The questions asked.
if there is one, you can see everything that is posted to this, unless for some reason Speed has decided to hide it. And if he hides it, if he hides your message, you can probably expect a note from him saying why he hid it and why you've been a naughty boy or girl.
Photographs, images.
Yes. Let's see here. Okay. So that was literally it for that. So let's go back to sharing the screen with Firefox. I'm going to show you what Discord looks like on mine. Yeah, when you go to the Discord page here, you have the option to either download it, which I have, it's on here, but I'm going to show it in the web anyway. or open Discard in your browser. And it will probably remember who I am. Okay. You're not seeing a whole lot. This is if you've got immediate messages, you can send direct messages to people. For instance, Speed was reminding me that, hey, I need to post a little more often than I have been. And I mentioned I was teaching a clinic on this. If you want to talk to Gordy Robinson directly, he's on here, and it's probably actually one of the better ways to get in touch with him. And then you'll notice the NMRA logo over here.
Jeff, are the DMs are not public, correct?
Correct, DMs are not public. So anything that's in here is completely between you and the person that you're conversing with. But then you click on the NMRA logo and you've got the whole thing. Including, I need help from the NMRA. But this is the message that the bot will give you when you do the /onboard.
To read off just a couple of the topics, so you have an idea of what.
Well, there's introduce yourself. NMRA events, which is a little bit it's not duplicitous, duplicative basically, because they also have topics on the upcoming and past conventions. You were talking about photos. Speed link to my MRH forum posts. All of the basic stuff that you'd be interested in to build your model railroad, DCC, LCC, 3D printing, frackling, scenery.
So tree making.
That would fall under scenery.
So if you click on that, then is there more subdivisions within those categories?
Not that particular one now.
There's groups IO was mentioned, and I do a lot of communicating with a couple of groups. I'm wondering to what extent does this duplicate that kind of a dialogue that you get in the groups IO?
Probably some, but it's going to be different people. It's just a different way of communicating. The basics is what this is called.
So you, instead of communicating to a specific person that you know, you can.
You're throwing it out there to
Just
the
throwing
wind.
it out there and anybody that wants an answer.
Yep.
can answer.
1980s all over again.
If you're interested in modeling 1900 to 1940 or so, they've got people who are doing that, who may talk about what they're doing or have questions about how to do that, since there are a lot of people out there who've studied this topic. Personally, I'm more interested in modeling the 2000s. Special interest groups in the NMRA all have their own thing. You ever realize there were that many special interest groups in the NMRA?
So you click on one of those and what do you get? Just a bunch of dialogues by different people with regard to that same subject?
Correct. Or OPSIG has a couple different ones.
Yeah.
OPSIG events, which is about just that. OPSIG lounge is an anything goes, talking about operations and about the OPSIG.
Does it have any kind of a search topic index?
Well, it's got search up there.
It's like in Great Northern, if they're going to take it to the Great Northern.
You've got Great Northern Historical Society. that was actually a suggestion to search in that, search there in the Historical Society channel. Because otherwise, if you scroll further down, you've got the different regions. I think you can add those if you want to, but okay, well, Les may still be watching. This is what I posted this morning about the meet today. There's also voice chat where you can get in to a voice chat room and whoever happens to be there, you can just talk to them. There's abilities to set up essentially the equivalent to Zoom meetings. So there are apparently several divisions that are using this as a replacement for Zoom. And I think that feature is actually one of the main reasons why the NMRA went with this particular platform, is to hopefully get everybody out of having to pay for Zoom. I have not experimented with this yet. And since I know very few people are on it as well, although I'm hoping this will change, we're not planning on giving up Zoom anytime soon. You can apply to have your own model railroad added to the list. So if you want to set up a homepage for your own railroad to post things about your railroad. For instance, if you happen to hate Facebook and don't want to do it there, as a lot of people also do there. Or you can do it at both places. There is a in memoria section for past members. And okay. That's what I'm missing.
Can you customize that directory so you don't have to look at all the things from other people?
You can mute channels until you want to turn it back on, so it won't tell you about it. I'm not sure about getting rid of any of them. I haven't tried that yet. It wouldn't surprise me if you could.
So that's saying you can mute for 15 minutes or an hour or up to 24 hours.
Or until you turn it back on.
Until you turn it back on.
Yeah. So it won't tell you about anything happening in there. But if, for instance,
still show up out in the
yeah,
outline and what it was on that list.
if you want to talk about Union Pacific, there are people posting about the Union Pacific Railroad. So these are all the prototypes, including this notable one nearby. Yeah, I know.
Can you set limits on it, like say maybe you want to deal with the Great Northern, but you want to deal with that before 1930?
No, because and you'd be either looking in the area for the 1930s up there, or your best bet would simply be to go to the Great Northern Historical.
Yeah. On some catalogs online, you can select that you want this much and you want that, and you might put a price on it.
Yeah,
You put all kinds of parameters to.
but I don't
take you to
think
where
that's,
Do that
It won't do
on
that.
the article.
Yeah,
in order to,
somebody'd have
do
to
that.
actually put in all those keywords, and I don't think that's quite how this runs.
Okay.
Does it
Yeah,
have a
don't-
notification capacity,
Say again?
a notification capacity?
Yes, especially if you download the app. You download the app and give it the ability, or agree to it, because it'll ask for it, the ability to do notifications. When somebody sends you a DM, it'll pop up a message on your phone or on the computer. I actually did that last night and was a little surprised when the speed answered. this morning. It's like, hold it, where did that come from? I'd given it permission to do notifications, and when he answered one of my posts, boom, there it was. So yes, the program has the ability to annoy you to no end, as many apps do. That's entirely under your control.
So can you set up a notification, can you qualify your notification? Or is it just give you,
I have not looked into that.
or is it just give you notifications that are directly for you?
Right now, it's just giving me notifications that are for me. I don't know if you can expand it to the whole thing. I personally would not want to. Because you've got 500 to 700 people on this now, posting regularly,
It would get very,
you would quickly get buried.
Yeah, no, I meant by specific topic area. Or if someone posts on specific and you're interested in that, you get a notification of that post.
Isn't that what the
Well-
mute is? Doesn't that imply that you get some indication that they're muted material or not?
Okay, I think you can turn, yeah, you can turn off notifications and topics. Or you can tell it that you want all messages. The default is only ones that mention you. Yeah, if you've got your little, you've got your username in here, everybody does, and you type @ and that username, and that notifies that person that you've mentioned them in a topic. Same thing if somebody puts your name in there. So that's what an @ mention is, or you can tell it you want nothing from that channel. So if you get involved in a whole lot of different channels and you're getting overwhelmed, it might be a good idea to go in and hit the nothing button, or at least scale it back. So you've got that ability. Pinned messages, I think, is a admin function. You can go look for everybody. When it comes to everything but private messages, there is no privacy on Discord. If you're allowed on the server, you're allowed to see everybody and everything, at least that the admins will let you.
So there's no private.
There's DMs. I don't know that there are private rooms. There might be. I'll have to ask Speed about that. And send me an email about it.
it's for the record, DM is
Direct message. Direct message, IM, instant message. Depends on the platform on what it's called. It's all simply me talking to you and only. But yeah. You can see Charlie's Palermo, he's one of the directors. If you follow podcasts at all, Humanity Junction or Human City Junction, Heath something or another, does a YouTube channel out there that's quite popular. There's this fool here. Yeah. I mean, heck. He even gave a, I don't know that Charlie's ever been back to it, but he did log on and post at least once. Let's see, I think I want to go into the
If you posted or you listed, is there a place that you can go see who all the people that are logged on and listed? Is that what we're doing
That's
now?
basically what we're looking at now. Okay, these are all the people currently logged in. Senior Chief Z is Andy Zimmerman. He's heads of standards and conformance. So if you got a question about that, he'd be the person to tag it to. I would not suggest doing it until after you actually looked up the standard, read it, and made sure that you did not understand it, because as it says, he is a former Navy senior chief, but he probably won't react that way. Anybody who's been in the military knows what I'm talking about. Yep.
See,
Senior NCOs and officers really do prefer that you come to find the answer yourself before bothering them about it, especially if it's something really simple.
It's the right protocol, for anything you do online.
True.
Try at least make some effort on your own.
maybe the full thing.
So Discord is not Google, is that what you just said?
Correct.
More the same for Groups IO. Same principle applies. The
Hey.
SP list, we've had disciplines and members for thinking that we should answer instantly and in great volume.
Yeah, you should. Yeah.
Discord is like every other platform on the internet. Joe from Jade has a joke about it, which I've heard elsewhere even before he made the joke about it. And that is, if you ask a question here, you'll get an answer pretty quickly. You'll get more answers within 24 hours. Within 48 hours, you might get the right answer.
Everybody's got anything.
These are all the people here that aren't currently logged in, but have a login on the server.
Okay, so they show those that aren't logged in, but yet
Yes,
are members of the.
so the ones who are online are highlighted.
Okay,
The ones who are offline aren't. So there's 684 people who aren't currently.
okay.
Let me go back up to mine here. So this will show you my level on it, event creator, NMRA member. I'm in the PNR, I'm in second division. And that's when I actually got onto the server. You can add things like a link to information about yourself or your railroad or whatever you want to send people to. If you want to be funny and send people to Google, you can put Google there. It's entirely up to you. And you can either get one of these colorful default Discord icons, or you can upload a graphic to make it yourself. And if you want to edit your profile, you click on that pencil, which is getting to be the standard edit me icon. And it will let you change whatever you want to. And there are a whole lot of settings over here. This is free. Everything on the NMRA server is free. Discord has paid options for other stuff, which you never ever need to use. So if they pop up a message asking you to pay for something, ignore it and don't bother. Because for the NMRA stuff, you don't need to. But you can also set all sorts of different appearance, voice, video, text, all sorts of different settings here. And of course, you can log out, which is not the same as leaving the server. And leaving the server should be considered the equivalent of deleting your account from the server. All right, so we have done that. Let us
So
do
if
this.
if you're done playing around with it, you don't click leave the server? You
No,
just- you just shut it off or shut it down?
personally, yeah. Boom.
If you leave the server, you're taking your name off it altogether.
Yep, you're taking your name out of the
So when you
system,
go back again, you gotta do all the.
all the onboarding and whatnot.
1 through 6.
That's which. I'm going to launch another web browser. And give me 1 second here while I stop screen sharing here. Microsoft Edge, no, I don't want to use this as my default, thank you. What I want to find out is if this thing knows me in Discord. I think it may. Yes, it does, because it just logged me in. Hopefully I've got a browser on here that I haven't done that to. Yay. Good, this one doesn't know me. So let's share that. Let's kick it over here. Change glasses back so I can see things again. Right. Larry, this is not an email address.
No,
What is this a login for?
that's my NMRA admin. Not an email address, my username.
Hmm. You've got your email on your phone, right? You can access it? Your email?
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, I don't think I really want to save that one. All right, so back to home. Discord. I will, yes. So I went down to the bottom, I clicked on that link. Yeah, if you see the term guild, think of the guild as being the server. Again, this was built for gamers. And gamers club up in guilds that they fight as teams, that sort of thing. So the terminology is gamer terminology. Okay, so. So what is the email you use for NMRA? November 803?
88303. At gmail.com. So if you needed that.
All right, why isn't it letting me put caps in?
They say this is just 1980s technology. Network news, internet news.
Yeah, it's Birthday's in March, right? Nope, it's in October. It's coming up. The reason it wants to know your date of birth is because this is one of those fun things where if you're not 13, it's not going to let you in. So you can probably lie to it as much as you want, as long as you give it a date that's over the age of 13.
1945.
Ah, yeah, we'll save that. This is interesting because this is not exactly how this was supposed to go. I'm definitely going to be talking to Speed about this. Yeah, that's magazines. I don't want magazines. This is going to make a very interesting video, I'm afraid. I may have to do some editing. All right, here we are at step 2. A second here. All right, we are still sharing this. Good. You must verify your account before you can send messages in this server. So you should have gotten an email.
Not yet.
If it doesn't happen shortly, yeah, anybody needs water? Please feel
While
free
we're
to
waiting, I
take this.
wanted to question back on the NMRA magazine. You said that they have all issues going all the way back to, who knows when, 30, except
Yes.
what's missing.
Oh, you got one.
Got one.
I got my email. Whoopee.
And now you can type / onboard. Which, if I remember right, there was other things we needed to type as well.
2502 or 2502, yeah.
2502. Don't need to put that part in.
I gave you my card there, Jeff.
Right, okay. So onboard space. Okay, so you should get another email and it sounds like the server's responding fairly quickly.
My question was on the back issues of the NMRA.
Yes.
It's all on there that we can get it and access every issue.
Yes,
There's all sort of.
look under the membership menus.
So I can throw out all the NMRA magazines that I got.
Correct.
1915, or 1915.
It's a little bit far back.
That's pretty amazing, really.
Yeah, they already had a lot of them digitized
Even before Gordy became president. He was the one who just kicked into action the procedure that got them online.
It's going to do in real life.
He works for a hospital somewhere in Scotland. And lives in the Orkney Islands, just north of Scotland. He's actually on an island that joins Scapa Flow, so if you're a naval historian, that's a pretty significant area. It's where the Royal Navy hid out during World War I and World War II.
And when it's settled in German,
Yes, there are a lot of German battleships on the bottom of Scapa Flow.
Yep. Thank you.
You read the one that I got at 3:15.
Here it is.
Good time making money.
Yeah, I told it to refresh. All right, so slash. Yes, it does help if you actually spell correctly. Clearance. Input. 6408.
Yeah, well, I agree with that.
Hold on, we want to think.
All right, I think you're actually able to post. Because I have a post from you. This post.
Well, welcome to the 21st century.
Yep. All right.
Yeah.
While we're looking at a bouncing exclamation point, he's actually in the thing. And I made a post as him. So.
Change your password. Right away.
Yeah, I did write down what I said it as. Because I will finish it in the next 5 minutes. That's my clinic, more or less.
Thank you, Jeff.
So I'm expecting you all to go home and do this. Or at least try, please.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Nothing else, another place for me to put announcements when events like this are happening. Okay. Yep. Okay, I'll give that away.
I don't want your card, trust me. It's the wrong size.
I am not that flexible. Alrighty. Greg. Can I get that coffee can?
Sure.
We got gift certificates to hand out. There's coffee. Frankly, what I would recommend is if you do get on Discord, download the app for your computer. It's gonna look pretty much the same as the Windows browser version or whatever browser you're in, without all the extraneous icons and whatnot of your web browser around it. But it also means that all you have to do is click on the thing, it will remember who you are, and it will lock you in and you are there. So getting on the thing is admittedly a hassle. It was designed for gamers, and gamers seem to like puzzles and things like that. Me, I'm a little more straightforward than that, but
I succeeded. I succeeded with his. Ken succeeded doing this. And there are people that ask for help, like Speed, if you are having problems. Or you can drop me in there. And I will attempt to see what I can do about it as well. Let's just keep this one. I don't want to keep that one. Like it matters.
The one thing with Discord, is the NMRA is using it not for the purposes it was intended, so I'm on a number of Discords for wargaming, not that I do any wargaming, but it's because they get on there and they actually chat, and it's a single room. So if they're talking about, whatever the heck it is, elfin armor, that's the discussion that's happening. So you can't break out and talk about something else. You join in the conversation or you don't. So the NMRA is elected to break out, I think, too much. I think there's too many groups and too many subsets and too many,
In the beginning, people were asking for specific subsets, and the NMRA, meaning Speed, was trying to make people happy and was very accommodating in requests, shall we say.
but there's a lot of pages and you'll go on there and there's one post and it's Speed going, welcome to such and such a group. And then there's nothing else in it.
Steve wanted me to emphasize that if it's gonna work, it's gonna be because you go on there and post. And he'd like everybody to at least drop by once a month, possibly post, at least read what's going on. With all of those topics out there will be something out there that's going to interest you. Think about it that way. It's got it broken out by dates. From prior to 1900 to yesterday practically. It's got it broken out by all the different prototype railroads. If nothing else, go look through the posts on the people's model railroads. Because we've got some pretty spectacular railroads out there. And if you've got a railroad of your own that you would like to promote in some way, ask for your own little channel. And start posting. And others will drop by and see it and say, hi, this was neat. Or, hey, how did you paint that RS3 back there in GM? Why are those two Falcons different colors of orange?
Not that anybody's ever asked you that.
Never mind. I would imagine they're probably, yes, they are.
And they're both prototypically great.
Yeah, if you ever want to write at a manufacturer for paint colors, remember, they probably did get a paint chip from somebody. They didn't just randomly pick a color.
They didn't always follow the paint chip.
Yeah, or worse yet, they had the paint chip, they sent the paint chip to China. China didn't follow the paint chip. That's happened. It's been a case in at least some of these that the Chinese factory had the collection of such colored paint on hand, looked at it and went, oh, close enough. And as we all know, close enough ain't in this.
Remember those paint chips,
Okay.
we built that out inside.
Larry, can you hold that for me? We have 24553. And with that, gentlemen, we conclude our meeting. How far goes that? Long ways. And I hope for even those of you who are not walking out with the certificates, that you are walking out with it, having learned something.
Hey, an Asian pear.
Maybe a pair.
If nothing else, take some pairs.
One item before we all get out of here, November meet is gonna be,
Okay. We have gotten confirmation. November meet is in Salem. If you know where Court Street Christian Church is in Salem, it's there. Otherwise, it's the corner of 17th and Court Streets. Were we there once before? A long time ago, yes.
Yeah, we were there a couple of 3-4 years.
Gonna be on the second floor. Do not let this make you hesitate in any way, shape, or form, there is an elevator. And it's a pretty good one. It's nice and slow and comfy,
And it works.
and it works.
How close is that to the Amtrak?
Well, the Amtrak station is on 12th Street. So it's going to be 5 blocks one way and about 7 blocks another way. It's walking if you really, really want to, but I would suggest giving me a call ahead of time so I can pick you up.
And it's at 10 a.m.?
Right now, yes, currently
Oh.
scheduled 10 to 1.
October, we're back here.
No meet in
No,
October.
nobody talked about it. We're doing every other month. And if I can convince him, which probably means I'm gonna have to go over to his layout and do maintenance on it for him. I'm hoping we're going to see Larry's layout.
I like that suggestion.
It's part about me coming over.
What is the date?
Basically, we're talking filthy track.
Thank you,
Now,
sir.
Larry's layout is on the 2nd floor and there is no elevator.
And there is still a screen there and blocking the way.
There, well, in front of the layout. When you come.
What? No. I will not.
And we've got 20 minutes to tear this place down.
You come back.
Yes, thank you for coming.
Everything on the layout.
Yeah, what is
He used to be the secretary of the town, and I've been superintendent for a while now. We had meets here where we had just enough people to win all of the districts. So having 20 people here is wonderful.
So please keep coming. You more guests. You get your value.
Thank you all for coming.
That's cool.
If I get an A.
We're doing our was set up. And well, because I'm already in my headquarters, eventually me about them. They signed the form that said they're still 100%. They aren't. Yeah. That makes
Like some of the members were.
But it is a different book.
It is, but they were kind of, they didn't call me either.
Right.
So I haven't heard much from them. I'll contact them. I know Ned Luce. Their treasurer and kind of permanent. I'll ask them.
Yeah, and they were at one time. But when the president of the club isn't on my roster anymore, that means they
Well, we got a new president.
Yeah, there may be.
Jeff, thank you for doing the presentation. Well, I didn't tell you what Discord is. This shows me what it is. And that was what is this really gonna be worth my while? Yeah, this will be worth my while.
Get the app. Microsoft.
Discord will offer.
Yeah.
And there's gonna be something up at the top, it's like download apps. It's gonna-
But you want to go through the process first of the.
Yeah, get into it and then get the app.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hold on, don't worry.
We got too many.
Possibly.
Let's see.
All right, if anybody's still on Zoom, thank you, and meet's over.
So it shows